Hey guys, I'm Joaquim,
And I'm Stuart.
and we are Fury, and this is our first YouTube Q&A video. And thank you guys for sending questions. We're going to answer all the non-production questions first, and at the end we'll do some production-specific ones. So we're going to start with Facebook. Justine Sue, what's your creative process like? I'd say this one changes between tracks and remixes, and we've had a different different processes in the past year. Like it's changed a lot.
Yeah, it kind of keeps changing and stuff. Depending on what we have to start with. So if we have a remix or something, we'll always just start with the vocals, just vocals by itself, and then you will write some piano chords under it to try and get a feel, like kind of get a capture like what the emotion is like in the song and stuff like that, and how it's gonna flow. And if we don't have any vocals to work with, sometimes what we do is we start with like a sample filler vocal, something that from another track or something else,
or something,
some sort of a cappella, and then we'll just write some chords into that. And then if we're gonna get a vocalist later, then we'll cut that out and replace it with real vocals later then.
And honestly, like sometimes we sit on tracks for so long. Like, we've had drops where we go through like 3 different drops, and they're just not the vibe we want, and we just sit them out, and then eventually something comes up that we're happy with, and that's what ends up coming out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Justine. Hayden Gullins, if you had one sauce to dip food in for the rest of your life, what would it be? Shit.
Wow, I'm gonna go with chipotle mayo. Can't go wrong with chipotle mayo.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd probably say barbecue or something super basic. Sorry, but yeah. So, what inspired you to make music? If so, who? Just name some. Leander S. Jerkley. I don't know how to say your last name. Who inspired me? I came from a piano background, and I just felt like it was very limited. So it wasn't like my EDM influence was sort of like trance and that kind of stuff. And I wouldn't say I was inspired, but I just sort of liked it, and I thought that it was something that I could get into, like besides just piano, because there was just more stuff to explore. And it's just like way bigger like space creatively that you could get into. And
yeah, actually, like when I first started making music, I think the first like kind of electronic artist that I was like really into was Bass Hunter. That fucking like, hands up, like, just going hard. Like that was the first shit that I listened to. And, I kind of like, I guess that kind of pushed me towards that kind of super melodic, melody driven music. And went on from there.
Yeah. And I'd say like even now, like just like it's inspiring to have like homies who are like killing it, like dudes who like you met online and like now are signing to like labels, going on tour, and just like it's super cool to see that progress together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just kind of moving forward. You're kind of with everyone together.
Yeah, like it's the whole cheesy follow your dreams shit, but it's real and it happens if you grind your ass off. So, Baruz Akonzada.
You're just butchering these last names.
Sorry, Baruz. What goes first, the milk or the cereal? Cereal?
Cereal. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, everyone knows that.
Yeah.
It's no question.
Agustin Aponte, best strategies, tips for organic social media growth across all platforms. Organic's a tough word because honestly nowadays with how much advertising there is everywhere and how everything can be monetized, that's a super tough area to get into. We went to a panel recently with a bunch of labels and stuff, and they talked about how your platforms should be sort of related to your personality. So in our Fury project, I talk a lot, so I tend to go towards Snapchat and Twitter.
Yeah.
And I kind of like focused on that. Besides SoundCloud, obviously, if you're a musician, and it's kind of like focus on at least like 3 tops that you can handle. And grow those, and eventually you'll have residual traffic that will pour into something else, kind of like our YouTube. We only started doing this now, and it's basically once you have the initial platform that's big enough, you can do some cross-platform stuff where you're like, hey, exclusive giveaway on our Snapchat, send us a picture of whatever, and if you're big enough, it'll work. So it's just just go with whatever your voice fits best with, and just communicate your ideas through that, and it should grow on its own.
Yeah.
So, as far as Facebook, that's it. I'm going to head to Instagram now because you guys sent us some questions there, and We're on our Instagram questions now at We Are Fury Music. Dan Keeler, shout out Dan, literally messages everywhere. Do you guys think you'll ever collab with Millennium? Collabing with Nick would be crazy, but I know he's super busy right now. But he's always super helpful with feedback and advice, and like regardless of what we're asking about, he's just super down to earth. Giovanni Fish Official asks Fury, what inspired you guys to do music professionally, and what tips can you offer to other producers, artists? Well, we already talked about our inspirations. Tips. Do you want to start with your tips?
Well, I think some tips I could give you, like to aspiring producers and artists and things, is kind of like, if you get stuck, that's okay. Everyone gets stuck. And sometimes it feels like you just kind of take what you're stuck on, you just kind of set it aside for a bit, and hopefully, yeah, exactly. Pick it up later. Take another look at it.
It's not intuitive at the start too. It's kind of like, yo, I want to finish this track. I want to get signed. I want to do all this shit, and it's like. That's the opposite of what you have, you have to do.
Take your time is like one of like the best advice that like someone gave me before is just take your time. Don't rush everything. Make sure what you're doing is high quality, and people will notice.
Yeah, that's more production specific, and then other advice I'd give is as far as like. Professionally is production's one side, the other side is obviously like performance and connections, and I'd say place the same value you do into music into your marketing and your brand, because at this point, like, we live in 2017, it's impossible to have a brand without an online presence.
Yeah.
So, get a team, get a partner, get somebody, and then you can split that workload and really just focus on 50-50. Because it used to be where, only music would do it, and it's just not like that anymore.
Yeah, there's just so many people, trying to do this thing, and
because everything's more readily available, technology.
Yeah, it's easier to kind of disperse yourself. So that it seems like now it's easier for me to get out there, but it's easier for everyone to get out there.
Yeah.
So in the end, it kind of makes things a little bit harder in a way, but it gives you more opportunities like to take initiative.
Yeah.
I just want to touch on the getting into professional music making, and to be honest, like, even to me now, it still doesn't really feel like professional. It's just kind of like something that I enjoy doing, and I eventually got to a point where I could start making money from it, and it's not really something that you decide to do. Just I feel like it kind of just
it just happened. Yeah, and if you have fun, because like even with Fury, like we'd made house and stuff, and we were just like, we'd never ventured into trap or bass stuff, and we were just like, how can we do this and like have like keep doing what we're doing, and we're just like, okay, let's collab on a whole project instead of just on a track.
Yeah.
And that's how Fury started, and it was years and years of like effort and creative ideas, and we never set off to like make money and be like, because that's like the whole wrong approach. We're gonna have fun, we're gonna fucking make good music and fucking share our shit with the world, and that's kind of how it went.
Yeah.
And like Stuart said, it gets recognized. So yeah, don't do it for the money or any other perks like that. Just
do it because you like it.
Yeah. Halico Music, what were one of the most difficult challenges you had to face as a young producer? For me, it was honestly no. It's like just the word no, like getting rejected was just something that, I used to hate it, and eventually you just learn to like, you like it. Yeah. You're just like, okay, I'm gonna do better, and
it's kind of,
you're gonna hear back from me later.
In a way, it's kind of a motivator, because it's like, okay, not this one, but maybe the next one.
Yeah, just don't be discouraged by it. It will happen. It happens to us all the fucking time.
Keep trying. Basically, if someone says no to you, tell them all right, and then just keep trying again. Yeah. Try again. Send them something else.
Yeah, and then obviously like we're a duo, so we obviously have our disagreements kind of thing, and even with like our team and stuff, it happens quite a bit. It's like knowing how to deal with those situations and kind of move forward together kind of stuff. You have to compromise sometimes. Sometimes, someone has to give it can't be 50-50. Sometimes, it's 75-25. Sometimes the other person does, more, and it's just, that's the way it has to be, and that's like, if you're committed to it, you just have to like stick it through, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like learning how to communicate ideas properly and stuff.
We used to suck. We'd argue over the dumbest shit. Like, but yeah, that's as far as like working with a team and and it comes with maturing too. I think it comes with time.
Yeah, learning how things work and just having more information so
Yeah.
you can judge a situation better is
Yeah.
always
And
good.
music related collabs were super stressful. Signing to labels and stuff was super stressful. And you want to touch on that?
Yeah, and like sometimes working with other people in such a creative field, this artistic field, opinions clash all the time because when it comes down to it, everything really is an opinion. It might seem like there's a right way to do something, but there's like 100 or 1,000 right ways to do something. Maybe this mix needs, the kicks need to be higher.
Maybe you need to change the kick.
Yeah, maybe you change it, but it all comes down to kind of opinions and like when you're trying to work with someone else, then
I mean, it's art. I think that the moment you stop seeing it as art is like when it goes to shit. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I hope that answers your question. And Cola Natoy. Where are you from? Hawaii. Sick. From where did you learn most of your skills as producers? For me, a lot of it was trial and error, and YouTube is kind of like if you do too much YouTube, you end up sounding like the person on the tutorial, or if you do too much trial and error, you kind of like don't really learn shit. So it's kind of like finding the right balance of both.
Yeah. YouTube always, lots of tutorials. Check out all this stuff.
Even now, like we just
looking up stuff. YouTube. Yeah, and like a big thing is asking, finding other like people who do the same thing as you, similar thing, and asking them for help because like it makes it 1,000 times easier. When you're trying to look up how to make that weird growl bass, whatever, like it might help you way more to just ask a friend who knows how to do something like that.
Yeah.
And it'll save you hours and hours of
And also like being selective, like don't send your stuff to 300 different people because you'll just fucking take a bunch of opinions and kind of get confused. Just have 2 or 3 people that you trust, and for us it's kind of like we had those few people and we've kept sending each other stuff and that's how you improve and vice versa. They send us stuff too and we
yeah.
Fucking
yeah.
Who's your favorite singer? Alina Renee.
Obviously, Alina is our
favorite singer. Alina's on our EP. She's singing one of the tracks. Super excited for that.
Yeah, there's like so many great singers out there. I guess just to name a few that that we like. Danica Nadeau. She sings a lot of stuff on Monster Cat. Great voice. Echoes. They have a bunch of releases on Suicide Sheep. Madi.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of them. Yeah.
Cozy Hulsdorf or whatever that sang on Hellberg's track. Zulsdorf? I don't know.
Cozy Zuelsdorf?
Yeah, something like that. Jimmy Vu Asbury, why are you guys so damn handsome? So you have to eat approximately half a cup of spinach every morning.
Yeah.
And you also have to eat an apple every meal. Not a day. That's a lie. And a protein shake 6 times a day.
Yeah, at least 6 times a day. I mean, you can bump it up to 10 if you're feeling adventurous, but 6 is the minimum for sure.
And listen to Fade Away every day.
Yeah, that's also on the requirement.
And yeah, I guess that's it for Instagram. And now we're gonna head over and do the production related stuff, and we're gonna go through a few of our projects and a bit of our workflow stuff. So
we'll show you some processing and some sound design, I guess. All right, so next we're gonna go into our Millennium Remix project. So this is the I'll Be Your Reason project, and we're gonna look up the vocal chop for the second drop. And so this is what it sounds like. And so the processing we got here, I got a little EQ to start, just kind of bumping up the highs here, and then got a little bit of reverb here, and then got this is a preset that comes with like FL Studio, like with the newest FL Studio grab. It's like a distortion knob basically, and it's just add some distortion based on how high you turn this. Fairly straightforward. Adding some grit, and then the big one here is the patcher. So this is like an FL Studio specific plugin, and basically what this lets you do is it lets you split the signal into like 3 or as many as you want, different sections here. So I got 3 sections here. The top one is a reverb, and the middle one is like kind of like a grit layer. So this is what the grit layer sounds like. And just right here. And then the one at the bottom is just kind of compressed click. And then all together, that's reverb. And then what I got after that is an OTT compressor, because OTT is great, and just giving it some more sustain. And the last thing I got in here is a Maximus, which I'm mainly using this for kind of like a final compressor. And what this is doing is it's just cutting off the peaks. So if you look at what it looks like here, these peaks right here are all getting chopped off. So it just gives it a much more kind of consistent volume. Okay, so here we got the pad chords that we used in the Elenium remix. And so this is just a quick play to see what this sounds like. So what I got here is I have 2 kind of like big chord layers. So the first one sounds like this, and the second one sounds like this. So the first one is kind of like a big wide one, and then the second one is a bit more like stereo-centered one, and it's a little bit cleaner than the first one. It's more of like a support pad. And I got some EQs here. I got a camel crusher on this one.
You always have an imager to monitor that too.
Yeah, I always put an imager at the top. I always have high passes on these to kind of like cut out the lows. And then the main one looks like this, just some more EQing. Actually, on this one, I got a timeless, which I'm not exactly sure what it's doing, to be completely honest, but it's adding kind of a unique texture to it. And then a bit of reverb and another patcher, which is actually just doing some more reverb. And then I also got a cello layer, which is something I started doing more recently. Just kind of like an extra texture there. And then I have a growl layer as well. Which is kind of just like, you know, it's filling up that range of around 300 hertz or so. And I usually have a wave shaper on it, and it starts out as just like a simple saw wave, and then with some reverb, or sorry, some wave shaper and a bit of EQing here to cut out all the lows, and well, just for the lows I cut out the sub and I cut out all the high things, and then I have a sub supporting that, which is right here. You may or may not be able to hear that on the video. And then I always have a noise layer at the top. And that is the synth. All right, so what we got here is our Helix project, and we're gonna be looking at the 808 processing on this one. So this is what the 808 sounds like. So it's just got a lot of kind of high-end grit. I'm just gonna talk about that a little bit. So we started with a sample, a somatic sample, and without any processing, it sounds like this. It's kind of quiet, but there's not really a lot going on there. You don't even need to start with a sample. You could start with a sine wave. So then the first thing we got here is a delay bank, which actually wasn't there in the beginning. It's something we added later, and as per suggestion from some of our other producer buddies. And the main thing that's kind of doing stuff here is the camel crusher, actually. So it's having this fat mode on, which adds a whole bunch of grit. So without the fat mode on, it sounds like this. And then with fat mode on, it sounds like this. So that's kind of adding most of the high-end grit there. And then we just got some more EQs as well to kind of, you know, cut areas as well, because there's a whole bunch of frequencies in here. So what the delay bank is doing is it's adding kind of, we're using the grain delay here with some panning. And what this is doing is it's kind of causing some phasing and things to happen between the sub and like the other frequencies. And that basically adds this kind of wobble to it. And that's what you hear when it's kind of like, wow. Anyways, so something important to note is the way that this is sidechained. And we use LFO tool here. There's actually 2 copies of LFO tool. One of them is for the snare, it's a little bit less intense. One of them is for the kick, which is a bit more intense because we want it to cut out more. And we're using MIDI triggering for this, so that way it happens every time the kick plays. So if I turn the kick on, you can see these here. that is the 808 in Helix.
Thanks for sending your questions, guys. We enjoyed doing that. We're gonna be posting more YouTube stuff real soon, and stay tuned for our EP because that shit is coming out soon.
Yep.
And
yeah, and if you guys got any more questions, hit us up on
our social
page,
media.
Hit our social media.
Promo email. Everything's gonna be in the description. Thank you guys so much. Peace.
Peace.